classes her with Coyote. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep, so she's one of my good friends, but her dog, Rory, I'm sure now you know.
Yeah.
A little reactive, but not like near what Cashew.
Yeah, I told her, I was
She's
like,
just
she's nervous, but
Yeah.
she's like a lower level nervous.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thank you for the...
Of course, yeah, I told them all about it the other day, and so I don't know if they're gonna do like the full training, but
Yeah.
they,
She was easy enough where I was like, you got options, you know, so
Yeah.
this is what you can achieve or whatever.
For sure.
But yeah.
Cool.
How's Miss Cashew doing?
She's been doing pretty good. We've only gotten to try the recall stuff like once, really.
Okay,
with
so it's
the
actually
other.
good that we're pushing back here
Yeah.
because it's no point in really kind of doing the second half.
We haven't progressed with
Yeah.
the original. Yeah.
It's okay, but recall does take the longest.
Right, that's what you
'Cause
said.
You gotta go somewhere, you know,
Exactly.
so no rush on that. Anything else?
I mean, she's very energetic in the snow.
Oh, sure.
I was just taking her on a walk, and she was just very kind of distracted. I had her in heel, and an Amazon driver came out, and she was growling. I don't think I had her collar on tight enough.
Okay.
So I don't think she
For the
really
e-collar?
felt it. Yeah,
Sure.
from the e-collar side. So she growled, but she didn't lunge. And that was just today.
Just like let it grumble out.
Yeah, grumble, kind of aggressive growl, but we just kind of kept walking, and I didn't avoid.
Sure.
So I'm continuing to work on just walking straight.
Yep.
And then outside of that, I mean, she's doing well from like a turns perspective. She's become less reactive indoors for the most part. We had friends come over on Saturday, but they didn't come over, or she was out when they came over, so we couldn't really do the full exercise.
Okay. Like out of the home? So
Yeah.
when she came in, they were already
They
there.
were
Right,
already there,
exactly.
yeah.
I had her up to go try and use the bathroom. And
Sure.
then when they got, or when they came, we were out.
Yeah, so I think we kind of use it, oh, she's as a way to get more kind of acclimated to guests, because, you know, we're kind of letting her ease into it before like really buzzing her with the e-collar. And it was just sort of the same thing, like nothing extreme, just like when people get up, she is like a little excited, but beyond that, I mean, I think she's done pretty well. Then with the recall exercise, we were out there about like half hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah, you could tell the snow and like the extra distraction, because I think you're telling me where it's at. It's actually like right off the square, so it's fenced in, so there's people walking around the outside edge of the fence, and like the snow, and there's the train that's coming like out of underground. So there's like a good amount of distractions, but I think it took her maybe like 5 or 6 rounds to like really get it. We were doing a lot of like re-facing her because she would run past us.
Yeah.
So we'd have to like do the redirect and like do it again and like get her to fully come to a sit and complete the task. But she got it by the end.
Yeah.
We probably did like, 30, 40 back and forths. But
Yeah, she certainly was catching on, but also at random times she would just kind of stray off, or other times to start, she had a lot of trouble remembering that she's supposed to sit versus come to us. She was very distracted, as in like she was close to getting there, then we would kind of buzz her, and she wouldn't kind of immediately get it as if it was inside, because there's so much, like everything else going on. So I think if we have like 2 or 3 more sessions in that same place, when she gets it, she'll be better, and then we'll move on to another place.
I think it's just like you said, like it's gonna take the longest because we have to go to different places. Like in here, she was a lot less distracted. Whereas the first place we tried to do it was like plenty more distraction.
Yeah.
So a couple more sessions of that, I think will certainly do her well.
So with the recall with snow, so you're right. Dogs tend to get like what I call spazzy in the snow. I had a Pomsky that I had trained, and we trained in the like late summer, early fall. So when the first snow came, they're like, Jesse, like, what was his name? I know it was a Pomsky. They live right in Lakeview, but they're like, yeah, like he's not listening to the caller, right? And I was like, it's just raising the number. So in that setting with the recall stuff, what was the highest you went to?
What were we at?
I don't quite remember.
I'm trying to remember too. I feel like we were in the high 50s or the 60s.
Okay, sure, you're up there.
Yeah, like we had gotten up there because she was like running past us, or like not really like clearly like doing the same thing.
We definitely didn't land at a consistent number. So
what I would do is the next time you practice with her is if you start working with her, let's say at 60, and she just blows right past you, I'd already bump it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because, so it's not so much about the repetition for them to get it. It's really just the level for them to respect the behavior in the new environment.
Yeah.
Okay? Because once maybe it's like 85, and then you're gonna notice like, holy crap, within 3 minutes, she's spot on now.
Yeah.
Because we just went to like, we're not gonna play.
Yeah.
But if we keep it at that lower number, she's gonna keep being spazzy.
Yeah, because we do play with her in that same area, so.
Sure, yeah, there's that
perhaps,
association.
yeah.
And you can blend them together.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, so that's fine, because the other thing is if she's driving, like if she has a play drive or whatever, training a dog in drive versus training a dog when they're passive is very different.
Yeah.
Okay, so when she's passive, her number could be like 45, but when she's in drive, it could be 85.
Yeah.
You know, it's not uncommon.
For sure.
So that's something else to keep in mind. And I'm all for blending play, blending, you know, tug, fetch, or whatever with training.
Yeah.
Because it helps balance things out.
Right.
Just the problem that people have is when the dog goes into drive, it's like crap, like now it's a whole different beast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but yeah, anything else?
No, I mean, again, I think raising her level in the snow is a
gonna
pretty
be necessary.
clear thing, just to kind of keep her even on heel or even turning sometimes. She gets very distracted just from the snow and likes eating the snow and forgets that she's in heel.
Yeah.
So I think if we reinforce it by like perhaps raising it or keeping it at like low 50s would be beneficial.
Yeah, if like without snow, let's say your number was like in the 40s or whatever, and now with snow, you know?
Yeah.
Because even if she's in a heel, like that nose shouldn't be on the ground, you know, trying to chomp and stuff.
Yeah.
It should be on the hip. Like I don't mind if she's like looking and all that stuff as long as she's being mindful.
Right.
But you can use it as your kind of means of determining her working level.
Yeah.
Because if like the dog's eating the snow and I'm at 40 and 45 and 50 and 55 and 60 and 65 and all of a sudden they're like, oh hey, hi, how are you? And I'm like, yeah.
I'm here.
I'm here, huh? Like,
Yeah.
as I let them do the behavior and just slowly go up until eventually they'll detach and then come to you and then all of a sudden you got attention.
Yeah.
And that's how you can tell the new working number.
For sure.
Okay. Anything else?
I think so.
I think that's
She's going
good.
back to daycare
Good for
tomorrow.
now. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, she's been doing good. I think they had her socialization. She was fine. She's so in the beginning, they're partly because we're structured here, but then partly because it's a whole new environment. People are usually surprised, like, hey, like the other daycare, my dog was like all over the place. I'm like, yeah, but we're not the other daycare.
Right, exactly.
We actually don't let the dogs go crazy because it's problematic. So then because there's rules, dogs tend to be a little apprehensive.
Right.
Because they're trying to get a feel for like what can we do and what can't we do.
Yeah.
Plus just whole new environment.
Exactly.
But otherwise with the handlers, no issues, no growling.
Yeah. That's what it sounded like with Enrique. And
yeah, no barking.
we were talking to him before, and it sounds like he was asking me like, does she play well with other dogs? I'm like, yeah, she loves other dogs.
Yeah,
but
I was telling you
I don't
too, I
think
was
she's like opened up yet to like show her like personality, like to be fully comfortable because she's still getting there. So.
Yeah, no. From what I've seen with her, and like even the stuff when I saw her with Tango and stuff, and she was just like kind of calm and passive, and just like observant. She's super observant actually. So like when she's resting, and I'm like walking around, and like I see them walking around the dog and stuff, and she's exactly.
Watching.
That sounds right, because that's what she does even when she's laying in our apartment. She's always kind of like got an eye on us, like whether she's staying there, which this lesson I think will be really good. Because like most of the time she's gotten better about like staying instead of just following us around the apartment. So, but she always does have her eyes on us when she's completely sleeping.
Yeah, then the only other observation is like the snow kind of gets her pumped up when she knows it's snowing, so she like always wants to go outside.
Oh yeah, sure.
And then also like when I'm trying to relax sometimes, she just kind of comes up to me and like barks at me and you know, in a playful way. And then like when I get the bonker out, she thinks it's like complete chase time. So like Lauren would grab her, and then she, again, the effect of the bonker works, but still she sort of had some moments, I think she, from the snow and all that stuff.
Yeah, makes sense.
She's just like real jacked up inside. Probably from the new daycare too. She's not able to expend like to the point of exhaustion. So I think it's just all adjustment, so I'm not reading too much into it. But I'm not sure, again, after this session, if we should start doing more e-collar in the apartment? Because we really haven't done that at all.
Sure, so this here gives you something to practice in the home.
Yeah.
It's meant for stationary control.
Okay.
So like if you took her somewhere and you wanted her to like be out of the way, this is like the easiest thing to teach.
Yep.
So with the place command, the reason why we do this one first
Yep.
is I don't care if she sits, stands, or lays down. It's just go here, don't move.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so she can do any of those things. And as long as she stays within the perimeter, we're perfectly fine, but allows you to push duration and not have to do as much work.
Yes.
Okay, so it's a nice thing to start with, and then the stationary aspect of like, so sit down in place, we're all stationary commands, right?
Yep.
Put your butt down, don't move, lay down, don't move, go here, don't move.
Yep.
So we start the stationary concept here, and it kind of overlaps the other
Right.
stuff, okay?
Right.
And then, yeah, exactly. So then
Okay.
once we go into the down, which would of course be that, but down is more strict. Down is do that and nothing else.
Right.
Right? She can't sit, she can't stand. As this ends up being like a nice kind of beginner step into that.
Yeah.
Okay?
Cool.
So what we'll do here is because we are teaching something new, we're gonna go down on the collar. What
So
are we-
we're at 34 right now.
That's going to go down to 22. And what we want to teach here is what we call descend. Getting Cashew to recognize that when she feels a tap, that it means to go here. So currently it means, of course, walk on my left side. If
Yeah.
she doesn't auto sit, it means put your butt down. It means don't bark or don't growl. And also come to us when we're at a distance. So here we're going to teach her that in this kind of context, when she sees a dog bed or whatever object that you're going to be teaching,
Okay.
and she gets the tap, she's going to assume to go there.
Yep.
By the end of the class, we'll also have the verbal cue as well to make things a bit easier. But we're going to avoid any cue in the beginning because we want to make sure it's the call. Like with the recall, right? We did nothing, we said nothing.
Right.
Just tap to make sure that she was responding to the tapping.
Yeah.
So what I'll have you do is you're going to come to, you can even do it from there, about a foot away from the dog bed. And I usually use my foot to brace because sometimes the dogs get a little freaked out and they start to push on the bed.
Yeah.
So this helps anchor it. And you're going to start tapping. And on that second or third tap, if we see nothing from Cashew, you're going to keep tapping and then lightly pull forward
Okay.
until all four paws are on the placemat. Okay. Now, should Cashew overshoot it, you then counter her coming back the other way and tapping again until all four paws are on, and then we stop.
Okay.
Okay? And I'll coach you through it if we have any issues here. So go ahead and get up to about a foot away. And then you're at 22 already?
Yep.
All right, now I'm gonna tap, 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 and pull towards the placemat. Tap, right there. And relax, and praise.
Good.
Oh,
Tap, tap, right there. Relax,
Good girl.
and praise.
Yes.
Good girl. And then you just say break, and then you can move backwards away from the placemat. Good, we'll repeat that 4 more times. There you go, good. And then relax, wait a moment. And then praise.
Yes. Good girl.
Good.
Break.
And 3 more. Right there. And praise.
Girl. Break.
Good. There you go.
Girl. I know. Thanks for talking.
And then 1 more.
Break. She's like, I just want to lay down.
Good. Right.
There you
Now,
go.
here, we're
Good
gonna pause
girl.
right there. So you see on that last one, she laid down?
Yeah.
So now she's starting to I can already see her getting the concept like, oh, tap needs to go here, right?
Yeah.
The first one, she was standing, then she started to sit, and now she's like, oh, okay, we're going here again?
Yeah.
Goes to lay down. So her getting more comfortable by doing that shows she's starting to get that concept.
Yep.
Okay? So what we're gonna do here, same thing, is you're gonna cue break, you're gonna walk around, but now I'm gonna have you try sending her from 2 feet back.
Okay.
And I'll have you start going more
From different
around
angles.
from different angles, correct?
Break. Good. Nope, not with me.
Right there, good. Good.
Yes, good girl. And I want her to at least sit, or is it
Doesn't
wait
matter.
to praise her till she?
So yeah, once
I
she
mean,
feels she settles, so like let's say she got on and she was standing, but she was just like, I'm not going anywhere, you can even
Okay.
praise that.
Cool. Break.
go. Good.
Yes, good girl. Hey, Brink.
Good. Tap. Tap. Good.
Hey, good girl.
2 more.
Break.
Good.
So whiny. Break.
Good.
Good girl.
Good.
Yeah.
That's when it's swap hammers.
All right.
She makes a lot of noises. We like to say it's like her whale noises.
We're at 22, right?
Yeah.
Let's go 25.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny because every dog has like their own quirk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've noticed, throughout the years.
Break.
Cashew's vocal.
And then do I do it with like the inside foot or does it?
Doesn't matter. So we're not going to heel.
Yeah.
We're just
Right.
teaching her how to lead you.
Yeah.
There you go. Good.
Yes. Good girl. Good girl. Break.
Good.
Yes. Good girl.
And then just a heads up, because you're seeing how it's getting easier.
Yes.
If you walk to it and you see her just walk there on her own, I'm gonna have you actually stop her.
Okay.
So put pressure or counter pressure with the prong collar, right? So to hold her back.
Until I tap.
Yeah, and then wait, like let her rest. And then once you feel like she's relaxed, then tap. So it's real obvious she's leaving from you to the bed.
Because the first few times I tapped just before she hopped on.
Correct. Yeah.
Break.
Well, and I'm sure, is that a lot like when we were doing class last week and it was like, because she's nervous, she's anticipating it again?
Sure.
And, like,
Yeah.
going towards it again.
So she's going like trying to beat the punch.
Right.
Which is good. But then there we go, much better.
Yes, good girl.
So I want it to be super obvious, both to the human and the dog.
Yeah.
That tap means from here to there.
So now should I do 2 feet away?
Let's do a couple more for
Couple
like
more.
this, and then we'll do the 2 feet.
Break.
Right. Good.
Yes, good girl, Cashew.
Good girl. Good girl.
Break.
Good. Last one. Right. Good job. Right. There you go. Good.
Yes, good girl.
And you can do about 2 to 3-ish feedback now.
Okay.
So we'll push it just a little bit.
Break.
Now here you're gonna slowly inch forward and pressure. Right there. Perfect.
Yes, good girl.
4 more.
Break.
So are you getting people back at the office now, Coyote, or?
Yeah, I mean, I've been going back actually for the last like 3 or 4 months at this
Gotcha.
point, maybe more, but that's just my team specifically.
Yes, good girl, Cashew.
Everybody else, for the most part, they've been saying maybe like not till end of February or March.
Okay.
They're just kind of like reassessing the situation and
Break.
everything's working like
Yeah.
as is, so it'll be interesting to see what they do, sort of how big that office is.
I know, I've been there, it's massive.
Yeah.
Yes, good girl. Good girl.
I got clients that work for Google and stuff, and
Break.
I'm just like, with everybody working from home, like all that money, so I'm assuming they still have to pay rent,
Right, yeah,
You know.
for sure.
Like my rent was still to.
Yeah, exactly.
house, like,
For
this
sure.
house.
Just like everybody else, they're condos, apartments,
Yeah.
workspaces.
Yes.
That'll obviously be a huge thing in the next several months, I'm sure. Like what companies are even gonna re-sign or how many empty buildings.
Yeah, because I think a lot of places learn like they
Right.
don't need them in the office and it
Yeah.
saves them rent money, so.
Exactly. I think it'll be an interesting HR issue when people start saying, I'm not coming back, you know?
Very good.
Yeah. good job.
Yes, that's a new girl.
So we're gonna pause right there.
Yep.
So here, we're slowly working that way back, right? So first we started with the foot away to make it much easier for her to close that gap, okay? Starting with the tap first, because I'm wanting this have her think first before helping.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm not big on most trainers like walk the dog to the bed
Yeah.
and then say place as they're going there and they use the momentum, is that it becomes a part of the command. So then you're always like walking your dog to the place.
Excellent.
And I want to be able to say place, yeah, and just the dog just goes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we start close and then we work our way back. The reason for working at different angles is dogs are very much habit-based. So like if you always send from one direction and then like a month later you try a different direction, Cash would most likely walk around and go the way that she's been doing it for the past month.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want her to recognize that place just means go to this object
Yeah.
and not pick up on a path. Okay. When it comes to the placemat, it can be anything. We have elevated dog beds here. You can use her dog bed. You can use an ottoman. You can use an area rug. You can use a kitchen mat, bathroom mat.
Yeah.
Just something that has a perimeter. Okay, so like if you said place and pointed to the corner, like you have the walls here, but where's the space end coming this way, right? So here she has a very clear, okay, this is my space, and as long as I stay within this space, I'm perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Okay. When you do go home to practice this, don't assume that, like, let's say it's her dog bed, that if you say place, that she's going to just transfer this and apply it to that. You would do what we did here first.
Yeah.
You would
Okay.
do the taps, get her to learn the send there,
Yeah.
do a couple of reps, and then cue in the word place, and she goes, oh, this is like what we did at Jesse's place. Okay.
Yeah, I think having more structure when it comes to that will do Cashew well.
Yeah, no, this will be really helpful.
Because yeah, also like we were talking about, she follows us around everywhere and like needs to be a part of everything. If we get her like this, I think it'll help her relax more, or like just I think overall ease her stress perhaps.
Yeah, it's also an exercise.
Yeah.
So like, the example I give is like growing up, we used to go to church.
Yeah.
So me sitting still as a young kid
Yeah.
was very much just like an exercise.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's the same for the dogs, because dogs are like 3 to 4 year old children. I don't care if that's a learning capacity.
Yeah.
So for them to sit still, especially in the home where they're given so much freedom,
Yes.
right? And then she can follow you to the bathroom, to the kitchen, to the bedroom, and all that stuff. Is that one, you get to force detachment.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you be here, I'm gonna be in the kitchen for a little bit, or
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or for like sometimes when they have like a lot of guests over and they don't want the dog like getting in people's way and stuff like
Yeah.
that. This is a means of keeping them out of the way, but having
We're
them
just
under
us
control.
cooking,
This
opening the
is-
oven, and we're like, get out
Yeah,
of here.
like what are you doing here? Yeah, exactly. So you
Yeah.
have that control.
I think breaking ground at the recall was good, but I think this will also be a next step type activity that will help Cashew immensely and us. And too, yeah, with guests
Yeah.
as well.
You can use it anytime, like, dinner, guests,
Yep.
cooking. Yep. Perfect. Cooking, watching TV, whatever, right? People tend to feel that when they have their dog do stationary stuff, because they're like, oh, but the dog's just like, they're not doing anything. I'm like, dogs sleep like
So
60
much.
to 20 hours a day,
Yeah.
you're just picking where they're doing it, right?
Yeah.
Or like, you're just being bothered by the dog, right? And you're not wanting her at that time, right?
Well, this is exactly what she was used to, where like she could stay somewhere for a little bit, and then she could decide when she's gone.
Yes.
And then we never had the reinforcement to get her back.
Like, don't
Yeah.
leave,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So right there, that's a perfect example, and this is like, so with this command, we have teaching the send,
Yeah.
and then we have teaching the don't move,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
So we did a few of the sends, and
Yeah.
then we stopped, we start talking, and now this is the don't move. So then like 2 to 3 minutes into it, she just like
yeah.
invited herself off, and we're like, no apprehension, right?
And that's actually.
So the way that we teach the in implied stay, because we don't say place stay, we just say place.
Okay.
Is actually that.
Yeah.
We send her there, we ignore her, we start having a conversation, she goes, I'm done, she walks off, and then you were correct, you started tapping, and then she just went right back to it, okay? We wouldn't repeat the word of place, and we wouldn't say stay. So what she just learned is, when I'm sent here, I can get off, but I'll just get corrected for it.
Yeah.
And unless I go back to the area, the collar won't go away.
Got it.
Okay, so that's how we create the implied stay.
Yep.
So dogs learn things much better with don't do that. So like when we did the heel, essentially what you taught her was don't go past me, don't go to my right side, don't pull to the left side, stay in this pocket, right? With the recall stuff, it was don't move away from me, move to me.
Yeah.
Here it's once you go here, don't step off of it, right? So when you're using that aversive to teach the don't stuff, that's actually how, in my opinion, dogs learn the quickest. So here, when we're pushing for duration work, you can literally go home after this and do 2 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
But she's going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
That would be the difference,
Yeah.
okay? So the way I go about this is in the beginning, I always do this when I'm gonna be immediately next to the dog, right? So let's say you make dinner, you pick up dinner on the way home, you're gonna watch TV for an hour and a half. Take Cashew's dog bed, place it down next to you, she goes there, I hold on to the leash, and I sit down, I eat dinner and I watch TV. Right, 30 minutes in, she goes, I want to go sit on the couch. She tries to move, I start remoting her. I don't even have to get up.
Yeah.
She goes back. Don't need to say anything, go back to watch my show. 30 minutes later, she tries again. I correct her, she goes back, right?
This would be a nice project for you because Steve works from home all the time.
Sure.
The dog bed's right next to his desk.
Yeah.
Sure. So then, and then as we progress it would be like you can get up, go to the kitchen or whatever.
And still have the remote in hand.
Correct, right? And then, so we gradually build it. I always start close because I've had people in the past, and I'll tell them not to do this, but they don't listen, is I always say start close because it's easier to fix, right? And we work to, like, she can be in the corner and like everybody's over here, right?
Yeah.
But if you start with her in the corner and you're over here, if she breaks position, you now have to correct her and walk her all the way back over there.
Yeah.
So then clients complain that they're having to walk back and forth with their dog. And I was like, that's why I said don't do that.
Yeah.
So we start close. So for week 1, if you're practicing on a regular basis, and regular would be at least once a day, is you should progress pretty smoothly, okay? And you want to practice ideally in more longer durations, because that's what really tests dogs, right? Like 15 minutes, 10 minutes, that's easy, but doing the hour to 2 hour range, that's more difficult, just like trip was difficult for me as a kid. So when you do that, you're really challenging them, so that's why you look at the daycare. So we have of course, the playtime, treadmill time, there's the rest time in the kennel, but there's also place time, right? Because this is mental exercise, right? So the dogs get bored, they see dogs walking, they see puppies playing, they see dogs playing, they see dogs training, right? I'm walking in and out, clients are walking in and out, stuff like that, and they just have to sit still.
Yeah.
So it becomes mental work.
Yep.
So it's still exercise, just a different type of exercise.
Right.
So here, like I said, there's no such thing as too much or too long because it's nothing redundant. You're just saying go there and then like an hour and a half I'll let you go, right?
Yeah.
So then we start close, and like let's say week 2, she's doing really well, you're able to do longer terms, is then we start working towards, okay, you're gonna be here, still close, but I'm gonna get up and like, walk to go make a sandwich for like 20 minutes or whatever, and then come back, and she's supposed to stay put. And then we move, like week 3 would be 4 to 6 feet away from you, and like week 4 and beyond is, okay, you're across the room, I can get up and go to different rooms, upstairs, downstairs, whatever, and you have to stay put, okay? Any questions so far about this stuff?
I don't think so. I mean, the only other quirk for Cashew is if I'm not sure if she'll treat this as rest time, but like for her bed, she like nests it and like,
which
at
which would be technically fine.
That's okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Because she's still on it.
Yeah, as long, so technically, I had a client who used an area rug for their place. And he was like, can this be placed? I said, sure. I was like, but it's just a really big place that your dog can actually walk laps or whatever. Or if there's a second dog, they could play together, they just cannot go off of the perimeter. Okay, so as long as it has a boundary, it really doesn't matter what the dog does. So like, let's say I got a client and they're at a restaurant, they're using the place, and someone came up to pet their dog, and the dog stood up. As long as the dog doesn't get off the placemat, technically the dog can stand up and be pet. Now, if the dog was in a down position and was told verbally to down, the dog cannot stand up.
Yeah.
Because down is not stand or sit.
Right.
So place has some gray area. Okay. And then you can give her a bone, you can give her an antler or whatever, she can chew on it. Just like my pit when she was a puppy, so a couple of things here. Dog was super smart. It's like my pit when she was like 3 to 4 months and I taught her place. She was a brat. So like I would leave and then come back and she'd be like 1 foot on the bed and she'd just be sprawling off the bed like that, right? So she learned like, oh, like I have to do something with this.
For those constraints.
Yeah. So she used to do that. She also used to, because I would give her her bone on her dog bed, is she would roll it off.
Yeah.
And she'd start crying. And I'd go get the bone and I'd bring it back. And then like 5 minutes later, she'd roll it off. Yeah, so, you know. Yeah, so the dogs are super intelligent. They'll place some boundaries. So you do want to watch Cashew's kind of a mental state. So like earlier, I think she heard something because she was more kind of like
she was listening to
leaning
the
off
other
of it,
dogs,
right? Is if it looks like she's thinking about being sneaky, you can correct that.
Okay. Well, yeah, that was my next question in terms of the dog bed is to the left of our desk, and then it's like, you know, pretty close to the street side. If she barks, I can still correct her with a bonker wall on. You know,
yeah. So actually, like, let's say you placed her. So that's a good question.
Yeah.
Let's say you placed her. She's actually got her collar on, right?
Yeah.
You could technically bonk. You can also, since the collar's on, use the collar.
Okay.
Right now, let's say, for instance, give a tap here. See what it does. Right, I'll tap, tap, a little bit of lead pressure, tap, tap, right, and then we're gonna see what she does next. Okay. That's Carlotta. So see, she's in alert state?
Yep.
Go and give it a tap here. Wait a moment. A little bit better. Almost. Tap. 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 Here, and relax. Okay. Almost. Tap. There it is. I know. The frustration. Right? So do you see what you created there?
I created a shut off of her being able to turn off her alertness.
The alertness, correct, right? And the way we can tell was the way she's posturing her head.
Yeah.
Right now here, her head went up, but where's she facing now?
Away from the noise.
Away from the noise, right? Now she's starting to kind of
suspicious as
now
always.
She's looking back the other way, right? So you can do this a couple of ways. So let's pretend she's on the place. She hears noise outside. She goes on alert. She starts to bark. You would simply remote, okay? But what's going to happen is we're going to create confusion, and she's going to think, "Oh crap, am I not supposed to be
Gotta
here?"
get off. That's what she's gonna think.
Yes. So we keep pressure on. She goes, and we don't say anything. She goes back, and then I go, "What do you do next?" She was still in alert state. Give another tap. She flushed off. We repeated. And then the third time you tap, and went, right? And then she finally put her head down, and then turned away, but then she went back to going, what's going on over there, right? So that's to give you an example of how we can talk more, like a deeper conversation.
Yeah.
Because, so place is physical control. Go here, don't move. But mentally, she could be elsewhere.
Yeah.
Right? So then we can push her into a deeper state of relaxation by disagreeing with alertness, barking, or whatever, okay? And all that stuff that she did is part of the process. Eventually, once she goes, oh, tap doesn't mean flush off. Tap means stay where you're at, relax.
Yeah.
And you'll start to see her like just going, okay, and then putting away and going to a relaxed state without flushing off, okay? So we're using the place as like a frame of reference in order to talk to her up here, okay? And there's no words with that. Now, let's say you sent her to place and she was standing, okay? And you're like, I don't want you standing because I feel like you're too alert, right? If you downed Cashew and she did so, it is no longer a place command. What is
It's
it?
like overriding it. Now
It's
she's a down.
Yeah, but it's a down on place, right? And as we advance, I always tell people don't down or sit your dog on place because you're gonna forget. So what happens is they down their dog, they walk away, 30 minutes later the dog stands up and they're thinking, oh, the dog's on place, it's fine. But technically it's breaking command,
Okay.
So I leave place alone. Place, I don't care what you do, sit, stand, or lay down, just chill.
Yeah.
So like, let's say you wanted her to go from a standing position to a more relaxed state. You wouldn't say anything, you would just tap again. And you'd most likely see her do this.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're just saying chill. So then 20 minutes later, if she stood up, it actually wouldn't be disobedience.
Right.
Because all you had said was relax. Okay, does that make sense?
Yep.
So it can get pretty nuanced. So, questions so far about any of this stuff?
I was gonna ask, is there any issue with having more than one place? Like if we
No.
used her dog bed and her crate, like if we were, like, because sometimes she likes to lay in her crate, like door open if Steve's working in one of the bedrooms. So like using that or her bed doesn't make a difference as long as
It's
we
that
leave her
crate
to it
is
and
a
do the
place
same.
with a wall, or
Okay.
with walls around it, right?
Yeah.
You can have a place in the living room, in the bedroom, and in the kitchen.
Okay.
And the way she'll interpret place is according to the context. So in the kitchen, you always send her to like a certain area or mat, whatever. When you say place in the kitchen, her assumption would most likely be go to that one. Same thing for the living room. Okay.
Cool.
You can have a place that you move around. So it could be a dog bed that you can move anywhere within the room into other rooms and stuff, and she learns to recognize the object. Or you can have, a consistent one in each area, and then you can have like a towel in your car that you carry with you. Like it's very malleable to what you're needing.
Well, it's kind of like you had the example of like if you had your dog with you like at a patio or something, like taking a towel so that like this is your perimeter in place.
That is correct.
Build on that.
Anything else? Any other questions?
I don't think so. I mean, this will help her tremendously with kind of how she is around the apartment, which I described. So this will be good to instantly work.
So what we'll do here is we're going to start adding in the verbal cue. So what I'm going to have you do, everything's going to stay the same, except now, when you come to that stop, we use place, you can also use go to your bed, whatever phrase you want to use. And then you're going to say your phrase, and then start tapping, and then lead if needed.
Okay.
Now
Should we switch?
we can keep saying hammer, then we'll switch after. If you give the cue and Cashew goes, before you can even hit the button, that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
We can lay off the button there. Okay, so the only command that I always put pressure behind is the recall.
Right.
Because I'm trying to force confusion so that we get flight mode so we can correct that.
Yeah.
Here, if I say place and she shoots there before I can hit the tap, then good. She learns I can beat the punch. Okay? Break. Break. Go to your bed. Okay.
Should we do place? I feel like go to your bed's really long. Sometimes we say go to your bed at home, but.
Good girl. Change it. Break.
You can say bed.
Yeah.
If that's,
We call her crate the nut house.
Go to your nut.
So this is a place?
I'd go place just because that's easy.
Place.
Yeah. Yeah. Right there. Good.
Good girl, Cashew. Break. Place.
Yep. Yep. There she goes. Good. I'll try 3 more.
Good girl.
So do we want a point?
Break.
Or we just use, should be
can.
using just the verbal?
You can, yeah.
Okay.
Place.
Yep. Right there. Good.
Good girl.
I had a Yorkie that I trained real early on in my career. And
Break.
I had a room kind of like this with several little beds.
Yeah.
And he would go to the one that I pointed to.
Okay.
So that's where pointing comes into play. Like if you have more than one place.
Right, yeah, if we had more than one.
Yep. Right there. Yep.
Or
Yep.
like, I'm sure at some point.
There you go. Good.
Like, so if we did, nut house and like making that one of her places, using that for like a
Break.
differentiator between the two.
Yes. Like or to like clarify.
Like the bed is place, nut house is nut house,
Correct.
but doing place.
Place.
Yeah. There she goes. Yeah, good girl. Let's go and swap here.
Good girl. I almost tapped on that one, but she was ready.
Where's she going?
Yeah. I think as I was waiting, she kind of takes like me
Break.
going towards it.
Oh, sure, yeah, as a part of the very visual view.
But like you said,
Place.
it's not good to like constantly be leading her to it. She needs to find a way to do it.
Yeah, so what you could do, like, let's say you landed and you can go stop here, and you went in place, right? So there's less of this moving, and really just this, and then keeping up the pressure, and then leash if needed to get her to go.
Got it.
Okay.
Break. Place.
Right there, good.
Girl.
Break. Place.
Mm-hmm. Good. That was a good one.
That one. Just thought about getting lobbies from that. Break.
One more.
You getting tired? Place.
Good.
Ah. Break.
Almost seems like for her, she like yearns for structure.
I feel like most dogs probably do.
All animals.
Pretty much, yeah.
So here, we're gonna keep her there. And what I'll have you do is go and have a seat, but keep the leash in your hand.
Oh.
Tap, tap, tap. Good. Perfect. So like right there, because you said place, you sent her.
Right.
You sat down, she got distracted, and you didn't say anything. That was perfect. You just started in with the pressure. So the assumption is, if you said place and she goes, if she doesn't want to get remoted, she just doesn't get off the unit. So this is a tiny detail, but one of the most common problems that people have is they'll say, Jesse, I place my dog, but then I have to tell them place every 5 minutes. And then like, like I correct the dog too. I'm like, it's because even though you're saying the same command, you're overriding the old command. So the dog never learned place, don't get off of there.
Yeah.
The dogs went place and then snuck off and then got replaced and then got replaced, so on and so forth, right? So to create those implied stays is by not giving warning and just correcting the moment you see the thought or the dog about or doing the behavior until they self-correct and they go back.
Right.
In the beginning, you're going to want to use your leash. People also tend to take off the leash too soon. So then when they try to correct the dog to go back on, the dog's like, sucker, just make me, and then they run off, okay? So the leash allows you to have some kind of leverage. But as like on those last few, you're doing almost no leash.
Right, yeah.
So it's just tap the sender. And eventually the next thing would be I have the leash on the ground, dragging, so in case I need to limit her range of motion, I can remote her and prevent her from going and running off so that she corrects without depending on seeing the leash in my hand, okay? Because for dogs, the leash is part of the picture, okay? So if you're 30 feet from her and you tap her, the picture is, oh, I'm supposed to go back to them. If she's in a heel and she sees that long leash like this, and you're over here to her, and you tap her, she goes, oh, I'm supposed to be here, okay? So as we progress with the program, we're gonna start doing things and like removing the leash and stuff, letting it drag. So we start removing her dependency on needing to see the leash as a visual, and more so kind of just building that concept of what each command means respectively.
Yep.
Okay.
So what about a very extreme example that I just thought of for today? That we were trying to, work on the neighbors thing, but our neighbor showed up out of nowhere and say, it's not that many people knock on her door,
right?
But if she is in place, as in on her bed to the left of me, then someone knocks on the door, or there's a big noise and she flips out and goes off, what's the best way to recorrect it? Or like, do I
Like we should put her back in place,
put her back in place,
do you need to
or
put her
put
behind
her
her
by the
threshold?
threshold?
So technically, that's a good question.
Yeah.
So technically, she's on place, right? Something happens out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
She starts to blow up. She runs towards place. Then when you follow with that correction, one, you have to most likely bump her number to override.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't repeat because she's breaking place command, right? We wouldn't do the body language stuff there because she wasn't loose. She was under control first, right? So that's preventative control.
Okay.
Now, if she were out of place and on her free time and someone knocked out of nowhere, you would want to do the door exercise.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this sort of things get a little wonky. Is, let's say you had her on place, neighbor's knock, she blows up, you correct her, she runs back, right? She's on her bed now. You bring her neighbor in, and technically or physically she's under control, but mentally she can still be nervous territorial.
Yeah.
Because obedience is physical, mechanical control, and behavior work is mental control.
Mm-hmm.
So every situation is different. Is people ask if they can blend these things, and it just really depends on the dog. With a dog like Cashew, what I'd most likely do is back her off first to shut her down, and then if I wanted more strict control, then place her. Right? So you address the brain first, and then you address the physical aspect of it. So technically, she shouldn't be nervous territorial because you shut it down, and then you just said, I also want you to go here and not move.
Yeah.
Whereas the way we did it, I said, anywhere in that space she can move, she should just be as calm as you can get her.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So, but it's going to happen, right, where she might be under control on a place and then someone comes knocking out of nowhere and something sets her off. But technically, since it's obedience, you would correct it that way. And it's not to say that if you walked into her and then tapped her and backed her up into it, that's incorrect either. It's just, I try to like clarify it for people so they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because like, let's say if I have a dog that when they become territorial will like bite someone, and the person places that dog and then releases the dog, well, the dog still be in territorial mode. The moment you say break, what's the dog gonna do?
Go after that.
Go fight the person, right? Because nothing said don't be territorial.
Yeah.
So that's how that works. So I always tell them, if anything, just back the dog off, because shutting down territorial behavior is what's going to prevent the dog from escalating to a territorial bite. Okay.
Yeah, because I don't think it's territorial behavior, but like with guests, one of them was a girl shorter than Lauren, and Cashew kind of tried like jumping, but not aggressive jumping, like excited jumping. So I'm not sure, like with that, like putting her in place, if she'll be less.
Yes, so good example.
Yeah.
So let's say you did that.
Yeah.
Right. Same person comes over, and you say, "Okay, Cashew, break." It's gonna happen.
Jump all over
And
again.
jump, right?
Yep.
Because state of mind.
Yeah.
Right. So what I would do, let's say that person will come over, is back her off first, shut down the excitement, right? Create passiveness, and then if you wanted, place, right? My suggestion would be you actually just do the back off and settle her, and do the kind of the invisible boundary, and let it. So the person comes in, and let's say they came in and Cashew's behind the line here. She's not under place command. She's just under the boundary of like calm down, go back here. Is if this person never crosses that boundary, they would never meet.
Right.
Right? So then there's two ways of going about this. One, she or he could enter into that space, and then Cashew would approach, but since you calmed her down, we wouldn't see jumping, theoretically.
Yeah.
Or you can also break the boundary if you go over to Cashew and give a very just subtle pat, like on the shoulder, and just walk away. Don't say break. Okay? Because what happens is you'll say break, and then
Beeline.
she shoots. Yeah, because it's super interesting. So if you go up to her and just give her a pat and you walk away, that pat means the boundary is done.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, what you'll most likely see, she'll still be kind of apprehensive.
Yeah.
Don't try to coax her. She will eventually think to herself, oh, I guess I can come out. And because you did pat her, there would be no consequence. So then she'll come out and then she'll greet your guests, but she should be much more passive. Okay, but definitely telling a dog break from either approach tends to shoot them off.
Yeah.
Or if you do preventative control, even if you waited for her to go like to this state and you said, okay, Cashew, break, chances are she's gonna
Right,
shoot
because
back
now
up.
she knows break as like, all right, I'm released. Like,
You're done.
I can do like the things.
Yeah.
Whatever it is I want.
Well, I think we followed a good sequence because we can certainly tell that naturally she's starting to calm down a little more. And I think with this will be good. But we also need to do a successful non-place like.
There's
I
so
thought
many
that
come.
were
Yeah, we
fleshing
need to
that.
have more
Yeah.
people try and come
Yeah.
over
And
and work on that.
Whether it's,
to get used to
people
what you're
she's
saying.
super comfortable with and excited with, or people she doesn't know, it's the same stuff. Except in one case, you're saying, chill out, we know you love this person, but relax. The
Yeah.
other case is, we know you're suspicious of this person, but relaxed.
Right.
Exercise stays the same, the boundaries and rules around it stay the same. So even like if you practice with each other, right, obviously you're her family, she's gonna be the most excited for you.
Right.
And I always thought about it, I was like, if you can make a dog hold the boundary with either one of you, everybody else is pretty much easy peasy. Because you're the biggest temptation to her. Right. So that gives a easy practice. Because people wonder about that too. They're like, do I have to do this with like even the people the dog's really comfortable with? And I go, if you don't want to, no. But at least do it for the practice. And then once you master it, then it's like you use it as you need it.
Yeah.
Same thing if like you saw a stranger at your front door and you don't want to back her off. Then you don't. Because she's there, she's
use it to our advantage.
Exactly. So, other questions?
No, I think that makes sense. That was actually a question was like, we did how we put her in the invisible barrier, but I was like, so now how do we like actually like have a meet at some point? Because we didn't quite get that.
Yeah, we didn't get that far,
like, So
they would cross into the space.
Exactly.
Now, let's say the way we did it doesn't allow for like an organic way for a person to just step in, right? Is you can always move your boundary. Okay, so like from what I remember, like there was the entry, then there's like a half wall.
It's a pretty big room like this where it's like the front door, there's some space, the kitchen, and then like there's a bedroom, like so the living area and kitchen and all that is all one large space.
Gotcha.
So like where our threshold is technically like, I guess they could go sit on the couch, but like she could sit on part of the couch and still be behind
I see what you're saying.
the like line.
Sure.
But yeah, so that's what I was wondering. I'm like, so if we have them come in.
Yeah, technically they would just cross over.
She could be on this side of the couch and they could be on this side and never technically meet.
Yeah. That's technically true.
Yeah.
So then they would have to go in past that perimeter, and you could even because dogs are as long as you're consistent, you can always do when it's people she knows and she's comfortable with. You could do one threshold, and then when it's someone she doesn't know, you can push for more.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And because it would just be if you're pushing for more, you're probably be coming in between that wall and couch.
Kind of, yeah. Where she ended up actually, like once we got further into the progression, she pushed herself way back to the corner, almost like in the bathroom. If she would have, if the door would have been open. So like, I would imagine the people she's comfortable with, like, we're less worried about her, more just her excitement as opposed to the suspicion. Suspicion, like, stay further away.
Correct.
And do the pat thing that you said.
Correct.
And maybe needing to do plays throughout their extended stay, because that's the other thing we notice is definitely the people she's more comfortable with, she's less jumpy when they get up, as opposed to when my dad or my brother would get up and she'd only met them the one time. She would like freak out and start barking and growling, and like my dad turned his back to her to go into the bathroom, and like she like lunged forward, very similar to like when we did our first consult in here. So those type of things where it would be more to make sure that you're not gonna jump up, you need to be in your place.
Correct.
So that you're focused on that.
What you can do for like, like your dad or brother, like let's say that situation can happen again, is you can move her place to where she's more distant. So if there was an impulse, because you want to correct, you have to break that habit, is there's more distance to cover before she can actually like charge. You know that makes sense?
Yeah.
So she might start the process, and I just also preemptively just bump. So that this way you're not sitting there trying to jump from 35 and find the correct number as she's going.
Right, yeah.
I'm already up there, so I can just boom, right away, just cut it. And then she should most likely like, oh, and then most likely run back. And then we just ignore it and everything continues on like nothing happened.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't do scolding, I don't do yelling or anything like that. I let the remote do all that work for me. Okay, so then she learns the next time that one of them just gets up to like go get a drink of water or something, you're probably gonna see that kind of little flinch, but then you'll kind of see her like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Nothing. Okay? So, and then having the leash on as well, in case you need to step on something or grab something, gives you a little bit more leverage.
Yeah, so at what point, like you said, when she starts to like get used to it and then like almost go, do we correct? Is it when she like barks and is off the place, or?
So it's literally like a split second. So like, let's say she lunged, and right when she lunged, you tap, and she just retracts. is the next time that impulse would pop up if it was a really solid correction, you would literally see something like that, where she just like herky jerks. And she's catching herself. So right there, technically, there's nothing to correct. Unless you see like a residual growl.
Kind of like where she's still focused or something.
So we don't get the full-on lunge, but now she's like, I'm still voicing my displeasure, right?
And
grumbling.
We can see her doing that. Yeah. So overall, it's going to be very interesting for us to really discover what the shutdown level is going to be and just repetition-wise. Because obviously today she was completely caught by surprise, and I even tried to turn it up and buzz her, and then she like kind of yelped, but she was still just like all over the place. But yeah, with repetition, we'll see what truly shuts her down with all of that. I'm just very curious, like with all of that, on place. In I don't know what level we need to get at.
Start low, move up.
Yeah, that's where
all new
controlled
things.
contacts come in handy, because then you're not worried about like the whole interaction. It's just we're just focused on what level. Because when we did with Enrique, it was what, 80s? Was that the highest you went?
I think we ended up at 80.
Right, and then tip. Such the casual sneak.
A pro at that.
Yeah, and then what I'd actually like to do, because she's a really good case to work with, is do another run of that. And it would actually be a complimentary one to give you more practice. Because I would love to get that on video. That's
right. You said it got shot.
So I have the Zoom section of it, which I still need to review.
But it bounces back and forth.
But I want to get my computer thing figured out, because I have like 90 gigs of space that's wasted somewhere, and that's why the video got chopped short, because I didn't have enough space for it.
I think we'd be interested in taking advantage of that.
Oh yeah. And our whole building will be aware. I'll let the neighbors know. Nobody gets the cops called on them.
Yeah, so once I get that figured out, I'd love to do that, because she was a really good example of how it works, and then we can also push more what the shutdown number would be. And you might be up there. I've maxed out the collar plenty of times where it's just one boom and they're like, and then they're like,
Well, that was just so crazy seeing her like cowering in the corner. It almost seemed like she was just like so overwhelmed.
Or, like, she was quite overwhelmed.
Couldn't process anything to where a second run in that same scenario. Because she's smart, she'll be able to learn, and she'll have more structure with like, this isn't like the end of the world, it's like a monster attack.
Need more familiarity.
You down. You guys are more than welcome to do a second one.
So we'll get that figured out. But in the meantime, do what you can, either with each other or friends as she goes, even if it's excitement, like it's good practice. And then this way, once we repeat that exercise, the exercise would actually be easier. It's just if we need to shut her down, when can we? Because sometimes it is just having people come over repeatedly, same person, and then the trust comes out. And that will eventually fix the growling. And then, because anytime you have someone new over, Cashew is not going to rationalize it's because you invited them. So she's going to trigger. But what will happen is her opening up to them would progress faster because you are addressing her suspicion. So, because we know she can be. It's just the whole context, and it's perfectly normal. I see this stuff all the time.
For sure.
So, okay, guys?
And I think we overall, with using the e-collar indoors, I led with that, and now we have a good structure.
No, I think this will be really helpful, like I said, with you working from home all the time.
And entering, exiting, having guests over, maybe having Punch on over as a second one would be good.
For sure.
And you can tell she got tired just from the structure of laying.
If you're gonna be pushing this duration work inside the home, just remember every 2 hours you'll need to rotate. If the two probes press in the same spot for too long, we get pressure sores. So it's not from the stem, it's just from two probes pressing the neck for the same spot. So then you just shift it to the other side, and to the other side, and then she'll be perfectly fine.
Or remind each other. I'll remind myself, or set reminders. So
Anything else, guys?
I don't think so.
Right.
I'm excited to work on this one more.
I think she'll catch on to this quick. And then this teamed with having guests over that whole process. I think it'll be great.
And then so probably next week, like recall again, or what's?
Yeah, we'll see how the week looks.
Okay.
I mean, there's a couple reasons why this was good, because now also the snow coming in, right?
Yeah.
So I advise you a week. And then most likely we can do the second half of recall, which is, it's an easy second half. It's nothing like super difficult.
Yeah.
And then it's just, if everything's going smoothly, then there's just a couple more obedience commands, and then the second half is just transitioning everything towards as much control as possible. So, okay.
Cool.
And then I'll figure out my computer thing so we can schedule that lesson.
And if there's like, obviously I know it's between you and Enrique's schedule, you want to take that. But like for a second one, obviously like we'd be down to do it on like a weekend or a different weeknight if it makes sense.
Yeah, no worries.
We're flexible.
Well, you guys are just like,
we're right here.
yeah, so it worked out really well for Tuesday because he's here on Tuesdays anyways.
Yeah.
So he just went down and came back.
Exactly, yeah. It is really close.
Should we,
Break.